welcome back to Beelzebub the Jag. I'm sorry if it's a little bit noisy, it's rather windy today. But I wonder if you've ever considered quite what engine oil has to sort of tolerate. And, I had a good think about it, and I had to write the numbers down. It's nothing short of staggering. Ooh, it's very, very windy. Sorry if it's noisy. Let me just go around the other side. I'm just going to pull the dipstick out. I just want to have a quick look, see what it's like. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's okay. It's going slightly off colour, and that was changed about 3 weeks ago. It's done about 1,200 miles on that oil. But the numbers are nothing short of staggering. What the engine sort of makes an oil tolerate. I had to write them down, but on 3,000 revs a minute on this 6-cylinder engine, that's 18,000 sparks per minute. Now, bear in mind. The piston goes up and down 4 times. You've got an induction stroke, a compression stroke, a power stroke, and an exhaust stroke. Those sparks 18,000, but it only sparks once in every 4 strokes. So the engine actually what the oil is trying to sort of tolerate, and the friction on the wall of the bores is times by 4. Now the other thing to bear in mind, obviously the spark happens in the piston, so in the combustion chamber, in the piston bore. The piston goes up and down. Around the edge of the bore, you've got a fine sort of slip of oil between the piston rings and the bore of the actual block. Obviously, the spark, the ignition, the flash, the flame. That mist, that very fine mist of oil, is exposed to the flash, to the spark, and it's that itself, it's that flash, it's that spark, that ignition that contaminates the oil and makes the oil go dark brown or black. The other thing to bear in mind is the oil is exposed in that microscopic way. There's a tiny little bit of oil on the block, on the edge of the block bore. That's exposed to petrol. Now the petrol will thin the oil in the sump. You do get, that's why sometimes you pull your dipstick out and you can smell petrol after a long run. And it does thin the oil. So just to sort of put it into perspective, how many sparks we get in a 200-mile run, running at 3,000 revs a minute, which is about 70 miles an hour. This car will average about 4,220,000 sparks. That's in 200 miles. And after I do at least 400 or 500 miles a week in this car, even under lockdown. In normal circumstances, it'll probably double that. So it's at least 3,200 miles in 8 weeks. But my normal driving would be at least 50%, maybe double that. And after sort of after that 3,200 miles, it will be at least 67,520,000 sparks. And that's a truly staggering figure, that the oil is tolerating that, and the engine survives that. And it's of actual strokes, it's 4 times the 67 million, which works out at 270 million and 80,000 strokes. That's between oil changes. It's nothing short of staggering, and that's me changing my oil very, very regularly, and never leave it for more than about 8 weeks. Ideally to be 5 or 6 weeks to sort of, when you consider, after 3,200 miles, 270 million plus sort of strokes on the engine, and that's not to sort of take into account any of the gnashing of chains and the thrashing of the bearings, and that's just the strokes of the pistons I'm talking about. The whirring of the bearings and the gnashing. It's nothing short of staggering what these oils have to survive. And people complain, why is oil so expensive? Why do you have to change it so often? Well, if you look at those numbers, it gives you some sympathy for the oil. phenomenal, and it gives you some idea of why oil's so expensive, what it actually has to survive and tolerate on a normal driving. It's truly phenomenal. It'd be interesting for me to sit and work out how many strokes, revolutions and strokes and sparks this engine's made. It's in its 38 years. I could sit and work it out, and I think I will, but it's going to be billions. In just a few weeks, so to 6 weeks or so, it's 270 plus million strokes. So it's just the figures are truly staggering and quite fascinating, actually. I just thought I'd share that with you. I wonder how many of you have really considered what your oil and what your engine goes through.